Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC, coming at you midweek right here before Florida and Texas meet in the swamp on Saturday. Joining me right here is Sponge Andrew Franklin. A little bye week action.
Back at it.
For sure, man. The bye week action last week. We were texting back and forth during those wonderful games. And I mean, look, you and I even said it, and I said this on the podcast before. It was like, no matter how good or bad Florida was going to be, I was looking forward to this week anyway, because there were so many good games, and it lived up to the hype. I enjoyed every bit of it. But now, we fast forward a week, and Florida's back on the field after a bye week. Can you find some things? Can you turn some things around? We'll get into that too in just a second, if I can remember the question I'm about to ask you. But everybody hit that like button, subscribe right here, all that good stuff that helps us out right here on Gators Breakdown. If you want to keep that conversation going, gatorsbreakdownplus.com. You can keep right here. Go into Discord. I mean, coaching conversation, still all that stuff's going on right there. That's mostly what the conversation is right now. I'm not turning the page really until
the axe
until the axe drops. If I get aggravated Saturday night, who knows? Maybe it comes in too. I'm holding out as long as I possibly can. I know it's not popular in some circles in the areas there, but that's what we're going to do here. Sponge, I mentioned Florida coming off of a bye week. In your experience, and I know, of course, it's not at the college level and all that stuff, but you're at the high school, you like I said, here locally, Trinity Christian and stuff. I'm really intrigued by how Florida attacks a bye week when you start a season 1-3, start bad, because Napier even kind of talked about it, but more in tune with Lagway, more so than the whole team. But you can, especially on the offensive side, look at it this way. Talked about going back to the drawing board, trying to find some things. Like, what is the balance of trying to catch up, trying to game plan for the next opponent, game plan for the rest of the season? You got another bye week coming up too, so you got some wiggle room for this bye week. But now, even up to this point of the first bye week, you're having to catch Lagway up at the same time as preparing for your opponent. So I wonder, how the bye week kind of plays into that. Of course, he mentioned he got more 11-on-11 first team reps, ones versus ones last week, but it's got to be, for a team that had to go back to the drawing board, you'd love to have a bye week where you can fine tune things and not go back to zero in a sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like bye weeks, are one of those, it's almost a reset week where you can kind of just take a break for a second. And usually that's a good thing. You get some guys healthy, rest up some guys. And like you said, then you just kind of fine tune stuff. And kind of a good thing is when you have a big opponent, you can double prepare for it, and it like I say, the comment that he made about, this would be like 4 weeks in for DJ if we went through a full training camp. It's like, all that's true. But again, it's like one of those moments where, you're trying to like, it's almost like we did need a reset, because it's been so ultra disappointing the start of the season, to where it's like you kind of needed almost like a break, like, because we said there's no let up in this schedule. There's no get right game where you can kind of game plan a game to get right, so that the players who are struggling, like a DJ is right now, that you can kind of, implement some things to like help him, feel better, feel more comfortable. And like I say, so it's great that there is a bye week, so you can obviously do that. You don't want to hear him say, yeah, we're going back to the drawing board, back to zero to, start new. Like, yeah, that's partly true, but in a sense, you still have to, game plan for your next opponent. And like you say, you get that double game plan where you can really maybe try to implement some things. We used to think back when Urban and Steve, during that bye week, they were going to put some fancy wrinkle in there to really, do something. Hell, we're talking about, we just need to get just be better. I mean, it's just, so it's like a totally different aspect of like what we're doing on offense right now, because it is just a complete mess, dysfunctional. Everything's wrong. Bad execution, good play call, bad execution, bad play call, bad execution. All that collectively is where we're at right now offensively. And so hopefully, you hit the reset button and, maybe you found a little something that can maybe give you some positivity. But again, man, it's been so piss poor that it's just like, you just don't have any confidence in anything going on. So there's nothing to lean on. There's nothing to hang your hat to. So it's just a wait and see. Like you guys are talking again, you guys were talking all off season about this, that, and the third. So here we are again. You got a big time opponent, top 10 team coming into the swamp. Show me something, because I'm not buying anymore.
No, it is show me before any kind of belief right now for a lot of Gator Nation. So certainly we'll get into the matchup with Texas. Mostly concentrate on the Texas offense a little bit, and we'll see kind of where we go from that. But it's kind of the storyline for them too. They feel good about their defense and not so great about the offense. So kind of
something's got to give.
Mirror images of each other.
Yeah.
Record-wise, no, but look at Texas's schedule. If Texas had played LSU, if Texas had played Miami, what would their record be? So I think you look at it that way in some ways, and it's almost mirror images of each other a little bit. Now, Texas's defense, they're statistically better, but they've played a lot easier opponents. But they did play Ohio State and held Ohio State to I think 203 yards or something like that. A pretty low percentage, pretty low yardage. So, and then struggling at quarterback, big name quarterback. So lots to get into there with Texas as we'll take a look at them. Coming up later this episode as well, focused on the Gators with Alex Shepard. Alex Shepard back on the podcast as well. We'll get his thoughts and kind of just where Florida is heading into this matchup with the Texas Longhorns. And before we get too far in the episode, well, you can go bet. You can go get in on the action at MyBookie. Texas comes to the swamp. 6.5 point favorites. Over under for the game, 42.5. So Vegas does not expect a high scoring affair in the swamp. Florida, hasn't done such a great job at covering this year in these close point spreads. So we'll see what they do Saturday. If you want to go bet on the action, go do so at mybookie.ag. You can bet it all there. One account, one wallet. Bet football all weekend. And if you want to spend some time hitting the slots, those casino games MyBookie has, you can do it there too. No switching apps. You don't have to jump to another platform. Just straight up action right there at MyBookie. NFL action as well. Game lines, player props, so you get in on that action. Super contests, survival pools, they got it all right there. And if you're new to MyBookie, use our promo code Gators and get your first bet up to $500. That's fully covered. Make your play. If it doesn't hit, you get it right back with the bet back bonus. No stress, just a one-time rollover on the return bet, so you're free to reload and keep firing. So sign up at mybookie.ag with promo code Gators and claim your bet back bonus. I suppose let's get to it here. And hey, kind of going to what we did. I think the best way to ask the question, what do we really know about Texas? That's it.
Yeah. Like
you played one.
Yeah. I feel like they haven't played in a month,
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So let's go through it right quick. Competitively, in an ugly opener and a loss to Ohio State, haven't played anybody of name since. Now, not looking great in wins versus San Jose State, 38-7, 27-10 versus UTEP, before looking like they finally should in some ways with a 55-0 win over Sam Houston State before they had a bye week as well. So the only thing we have learned from those games is the Texas offense has been pretty inconsistent with Arch Manning. Go back to the Ohio State game, 17-30 versus Ohio State, 170 yards passing with a touchdown and an interception. 19 of 30 versus San Jose State, 4 touchdowns and an interception. UTEP, 11 of 25.
He was bad against UTEP.
Bad in that game. 11 of 25, only 114 yards, 1 touchdown and an interception. notice interceptions here, by the way.
Yeah.
He's throwing some picks.
Yeah.
And then last game was his best performance, 18 of 21 for 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. So the fourth game of the season was his first interception-free game of his first season starting for the Longhorns. But yeah, one game against Ohio State to open up the season. You kind of knew they were either going to be 4-0 or 3-1 rolling into the swamp, but it just hasn't looked all that smooth, Sponge.
Yeah, it kind of reminds us of I'll lump these 4 teams together right now who's been ultra disappointing, but at least Texas is still 3-1. Is us, Florida, Texas, LSU, and Clemson. That like all those teams offensively are just kind of funky. They're not grooving, they're not clicking, they're not balling, and so yes, Texas defense #1 in the country, but against the competition they played. Yes, LSU, really good defense playing right now. Clemson's on a whole nother level. They're kind of in a mess like us.
But with LSU's defense, you play Clemson and Florida.
Right.
2 offenses who cannot get out of their own way right now.
Exactly. So it's kind of, again, it's questionable of like what is going on offensively with them. I mean, because, dude, Sam Houston State, by the way, is awful. Like, if you've looked at their schedule and like they're 0-4, and I mean, they got beat by everybody, including Dan Mullen and Hawaii and Western Kentucky. Like I say, they're bad. So you'd expect him to have a game. That was kind of like the get right game. He's been playing poor, go 18 to 21. That's the type of game that DJ would need, Then you get a bye week. Now you're kind of, okay, rolling. But like, we didn't get that. We freaking had, South Florida, LSU, Miami, boom, 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 right out the gate. So no excuse. That's what the schedule was. We knew that. It's more so just everything's been a mess with our offense. But Texas wise, yeah, they haven't looked, fluid. They haven't looked right. They got all the pieces, man, because they Arch is supposed to be the guy. I love their backs. I like Wisner. I like Gibson, and even CJ Baxter's kind of back healthy, getting in the flow. I like Ryan Wingo at receiver.
But even he's kind of looked off because because of Arch, I think.
No, I agree. Like he just hasn't, when you're tight end or Livingston is their main guy right now, leading by just a smidge over Wingo. But yeah, they have. I like DeAndre Moore. I like him too. So like I like their weapons and stuff. It's just they're not like it's just not looking fluid. And yes, you had the banger against Ohio State, who's got a really good defense as well. That's week 1. You're still trying to just figure things out. But, looking at those following 2 games, like against UTEP where you're throwing for 100 yards and just it kind of a clunky win, 27-10 over a UTEP team, you're just kind of like, what is going on? So it's kind of like a wait and see as well too. But, they had a couple of easy games to kind of fill themselves out but this is kind of another true road test. And this will be a test, like, I expect the crowd to be involved. It should be a good atmosphere and all that stuff. Can our defense hold on enough to keep it, a ball game? And, can the offense do anything just to kind of keep it a game? Because like going into last year, that thing, like we knew obviously
42-0 in the third quarter.
Yeah, man. We knew going in, obviously we were bad at the quarterback spot. But man, they ripped us a new one on, and our defense had been improved. And I mean, Sark kind of just toyed with us, man. His formations, the motion, and all that stuff. It was
he was in his bag that day.
Yeah, he was. They worked us. So
fixate. There was no Caleb. If I remember, no Caleb Banks that game or something. But still, to me, to me, it wouldn't have mattered. Now people can say, "Oh, how can you say that with what Banks did?" The games after that, I'm sorry.
He's not making that much of a difference.
No, right. It was just Texas's day that day.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Given who they've played, I say I wanted to zoom in on the Ohio State game because what did we really learn in those other games? Now, you struggled more than you should have. So I think that's the biggest takeaway is just, and a lot of it's to do with inconsistency. Look, they got their home problems on the offensive line too, Texas. And it's,
right,
like I said, almost mirror image of each other. They're worried about their right side of their offensive line. It's kind of, there are so many similarities between these offenses right now for Florida and Texas. And like you said, something's got to give. But if you can go back and look at Texas and Ohio State, and, that's where the Texas offense looked like what we see consistently from a Napier-led offense. Too often Texas would run a passing play on first down and then try to run on second down. And that got turned down. Then you're playing behind the chains on third down, and that happened. So many drives in a row for them, and then it got predictable and not a lot of creativity. It wasn't Sark like.
Yeah, got conservative a little bit. I think it was one of those games where I think both teams were kind of trying to feel themselves out, and they realized that both offenses were struggling. So it was like, all right, let's not make a mistake type game. Let's lean on our defense, and we'll just try to figure our way through it. And yeah, both teams were a little conservative. Both teams kind of tried to run the ball a little bit. But yeah, Sark definitely was, not, feeling, his play call, like you say, was kind of questionable, like with, what he was doing on first down versus, trying to throw it on first down versus running. And I mean, they ran it for a pretty good clip in that game. They ran it for 166 yards
and 4.5 a carry. So
yes.
37 carries for 166 yards, like you said.
Yeah, it was just more so, Arch had the turnover, and they kind of stormed back late, in that game, and had a little close of an opportunity to try to win it. But, again, he just wasn't – he missed some balls. I think there was a couple drop balls too late in that game. But, yeah, again, they just haven't looked good. And, I think Texas fans are probably like us, and like, they're a little concerned. Maybe not against the Gators because we've been so bad, but they're looking at their schedule down the line like, okay, the Gator defense is probably pretty good, but we should be able to go win this game. We should figure some things out. But if, they're going to be kind of like LSU, you're like, hey, this is kind of concerning. We got Oklahoma next week in the Red River. Are we going to be able to keep up with them scoring wise? And obviously, Napier being out, that's a whole nother ball of wax. But, they've got games against Vandy and Georgia down the line, so they've got to get their offense together themselves, because they don't have an SEC loss, but they've got a loss. So, you lose one in the swamp, and that almost like dooms your season, in my opinion, because then you have no chance to lose another game, So, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like I say, Vegas is loving the logo right now because, 3 straight weeks, 3 top 10 teams, and we are still within a touchdown, so it's like, I don't know what they're seeing that we're not, but hopefully, like I say, we can kind of hang around and make it a ball game, man.
Yeah, you get back Arch, like you said, some throws just behind receivers, low on others. Just wasn't accurate that day. They did have 4 plays of 15+ yards through the air, 3 went for like 25+ yards. Including their only touchdown in the game was a 32-yard connection between Arch and Parker Livingstone that you mentioned earlier. That was in the fourth quarter of that game, as you said, to kind of mount that comeback that they were trying to hit. So, but Ohio State didn't really allow them to make that giant explosive play, So that pretty much kept everything in front of them, which I expect the Florida offense to do too. We know Ron Roberts and how that defense has played this year, not giving up a ton of big plays. So they are going to make Texas earn it, I think. And they're to me, that's what you have to do. If you go back to the Ohio State game and what we've seen since then from Arch, if he's going to be inaccurate, if he's not going to be able to hit the easy passes, then maybe they can't march up and down the field on you. If you don't give them the easy downfield throws, this game really is proof that Arch can beat you right now. And of course, he can do some things with his legs. I think you got to watch out for that too. But at the same time, it's going to take more than his legs. He's going to have to make some throws. You just can't let him get the confidence to go start hitting the 30, 40-yard passing plays because he hasn't really done it yet.
Yeah, no, totally. And here's the thing, if I'm going to do a comparison, like, Miami, even with Carson, to me is a way more complete offense. And for the most part, the Gators did a pretty decent job in that game. They probably should have they should probably gave him that touchdown where, they got piled up and, they called it back. Definitely that. And that could have totally blown the game open. But, for the most part, Florida did a decent job in certain areas, and they did a good job against LSU. Now we talked about LSU not having a great offense. So, yes, we can actually at least hang our hat that the defense, as long as they're engaged and, they haven't thrown in the towel, which, I think after a bye week, you kind of recharge those batteries. So I think the defense will play inspired and continue to play as well as they've played. So you're hoping you can maybe force a turnover, force Arch into something, bad, and defensively keep playing the way you've been playing all year to where at least gives us a chance for maybe did we get something figured out offensively? Because, again, Texas offense does not scare me like it would maybe in the past year or even going into this, if we hadn't really seen, like if we were playing Texas week 1, this was our week 1 game. You're kind of like, oh man, they got some explosive guys. They got this, they got that, but we haven't seen it yet. So let's wait and see. So we've seen a 4-game sample size, and even in most of their games, they haven't been that impressive. And so by the time you get to game 4, yeah, they played Sam Houston. Again, it's so hard that I'm telling you, like what's so misleading is when you play these cupcake teams, it's so misguided because you can do whatever you want in those games. And when you step up the competition level, case in point with Florida State, they played those 2 cream puff games, feeling real good about them scoring 70 a game. And, all of a sudden now, this team can kind of fight back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, so like when you do step up that competition level, it turns into a ball game. And so, I mean, we still got dudes on this team, man. And like I say, that's just the most disappointing part of where we are right now. And you're just thinking back like, okay, if you don't blow that South Florida game, which we've talked about it, that should have never happened. And then you could have split what the LSU Miami. There's a whole different narrative and a different feeling going into Saturday. Whereas now,
even if you just lost the USF game kind of dug the grave.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, don't get me wrong, losing to LSU Miami.
You're right.
Losing to LSU Miami.
But
yeah, even losing to LSU Miami,
I agree.
I'd still be pissed. Don't get me wrong. I'd still be mad. But man, you just got almost let go of every bit of goodwill.
You're right. You're 100% right. And that's how we felt 3 weeks ago. You're right.
Yeah.
And it hasn't gotten any better, obviously. But yeah, that one still burns at me. They're like, that's 2-2 going into this game. You're like, okay, can we get right here? Because you're still at that point, you still got the 1 conference loss, and you'd have, the non-conference game with Miami. And now you're like, okay, let's steal one right here and let's get back on the winning side. So, the odds of running the table and doing all that like we did last year is like slim to zero. Like the way we play, you're not going to play that good every week. The consistency level for this team, for this program under your boy Billy, is shown not to be able to do that, to sustain any type of, consistency with winning. And, they're allergic to momentum, like you like to say, So
Man,
like
that was something I coined early on.
Yeah, you did. They are. So if they were to rattle this one off and somehow win this game, do we really think they're going to go to College Station next week? Again, that's another team. Like a lot of these teams that we are looking at, like A&M just was in a dog fight with Auburn, who's terrible on offense. A lot of teams are not good right now offensively. So it's kind of crazy. So it's you look at the complete teams, like Penn State's terrible on offense. It's like
and here's the thing with them. Kolodnicki, his second year, you thought they were going to change. You think look, here's the thing. Penn State might be the perfect example for wanting to give Billy Napier another chance. Well, what if he hires an OC? Should we give him another year? No. Because Penn State just did it, and it was supposed to fix their offense, and James Franklin's offense was supposed to be fixed, and they built with Kolodnicki, and he's in his second year. You got Allard coming back, went and hit the transfer portal for receivers, and they still can't do it.
Yeah, their offense is bad, man.
So
like terrible. If you want to talk about complete team, like again, look at like who's been consistently good offensively in our league is right now Heupel, Tennessee. Like they're clicking. I mean, and it goes to show you, some of these 5-star quarterbacks, they don't live up to the billing, like a Jackson Arnold, like DJ right now. You got Nico thinking, like the world's crashing when he wants more money, and you say hit the door, buddy. Well, they get Joey Aguilar, who's from App State, in there, and he's dropping dimes. You got Ole Miss, you got Trinidad Chambliss, from Ferris State, throwing for 300 a game. So it's like, again, that's where coaching and system come into play. So who's been consistently pretty good offensively in the league? Tennessee and Ole Miss. So again, coaching is a big part of it. Yes, you got to have the right player and personnel in there, but again, man, when we said it before, I said it, weeks ago, it's hard to have the cohesion of everything working sometimes, but if you got too many my bads, too many bad play calls or good play calls, but bad execution, it doesn't matter, So these other teams, they're somehow figuring it out, and they're doing what they need to do offensively with their guys. So that hasn't been the case in Gainesville under Billy, and it's too conservative, too predictable, all those adjectives that we use all the time. And it's like it's run its course, man. And it's I think we're all tired.
For sure. Keeping it there with Texas and that same mindset. I do wonder, are we making too much of their struggles on offense? Because don't get me wrong, Arch hasn't looked as consistent as he probably should. I would completely agree there. But what are the chances with those three opponents that they've faced since Ohio State that they're experimenting, that they're playing a ton of young guys to get guys? I mean, because we got to remember, I think they had to replace 4 starters on the offensive line. So, okay, they got some questions to answer early in the season. Arch has had his struggles for sure, like Florida, but
yeah,
they're struggling on that right side of the offensive line. Should they have looked better? Sure. But Sponge, penalties are killing Texas. You think Florida's bad? Yeah. Texas is 122nd in the country in penalties. 8.5 penalties a game versus the FBS competition. So they might have something good going, and there's a penalty, and there's another penalty, and there's another one. So don't get me wrong. Arch has not looked anywhere near like he's supposed to, but they've had their own, I think, tinkering sessions.
Yeah.
This early on in this season, and if there's one guy I think can figure it out, it's Sark. So
yeah,
I phrased it. What do we know about Texas? I'm not saying either way. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're nowhere near as good as we thought they might be on offense, or some people may have thought they were on offense, but I'm not going to say right now that they're a bottom dweller either. We just,
for sure.
I'm fine with saying I really don't know.
Yeah, no, that's 100% accurate. Like it's, you talk about replacing the guys on offense. They also had to replace their 3 top pass catchers. Matthew Golden was really good. Gunnar Helm was a really good tight end, and Isaiah Bond was a really good playmaker as well. So, like,
I think all 3 of those. I think all those guys did something against Florida last year.
For sure. And then, like I say, then you talk about your next guys up, Wingo and Moore, and those it's on them now. So, yeah, this offense isn't like just piss poor, like just awful. But I think they're just not kind of up to the standard where we would think they would be at with the personnel and the guy calling the plays. And, it definitely a key thing that can definitely set any offense back is penalties. When you have procedural stuff, false starts, holding calls, you're not doing what you're supposed to do and you're putting yourself behind the chains, that'll definitely ruin any kind of like offense, momentum, anything. So that's the type of stuff that you got to get cleaned up for sure. So,
and if you're on the Florida side looking for something for, it's a road game.
Yeah,
it is that new retooled offensive line and those new faces that you mentioned. So this penalty thing doesn't go away because you're on the road. But look, this is because they played 3 home games since that Ohio State game.
Yeah,
and the penalties are still that high.
Yeah.
So you best bet their bye week focus is, hey, we got to quit shooting ourselves in the foot here.
Totally. Like I say, hopefully that's a key to, hopefully we can force some continuation of the mistakes that they're making, that they can self-inflict themselves to, turn it over on downs, have a 3 and out, punt it to us, get some stops. That would be, huge because we need all the possessions we can on offense.
Wrapping it up here with this offensive talk for them, look, I know this isn't the same Texas offense as last season, but look, Sark's still an aggressive-minded head coach. And if the chance is there, he'll open it up.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, I do wonder how he approaches this game knowing that the Florida offense has struggled. So has his own, but hey, look, I know that opposing offense is not doing their thing. So did he come out safe? Because, hey, there's no need to go put so many risks on the field. Or does he stick with his aggressive style? I mean, I think I wonder how he feels the game out early.
I think I would feel like he's going to come out like he wants to run what he wants to run, and then kind of see where he's at. And then
that's what I think so too.
And then here's the thing: I think a lot of these teams like LSU and Miami, they realize like, okay, Florida's never scoring on us. Like,
well, especially Miami once back to that interception.
Yeah,
we're done.
So, it's like shut it down. play conservative. Let's not turn it over. Let's not do anything stupid to even give them a sniff of a chance back in this thing. Our defense is too good, and we'll rely on them. I think a lot of teams will take that approach, just because you can do that. But I definitely think you want to come out a little aggressive and kind of test the waters and say, hey, can we challenge these guys and, see where you're at with that. And then you kind of just maybe play it by ear by then, and then just figure out, how the ebbs and flows of the games are going. But I definitely think Sark's not going to come in there let's just be concerned. He's going to come in there and try to do, what he wants to do. And if they're having trouble with it or they're having issues, then yeah, he might be like, you know what, let's tone this down, or we're not going to take so many shots. We'll run the football and continue to rely on our defense to do whatever. And that's, like I said, that's what good coaches do. They figure out the weakness, and if they feel no threat from us scoring, then they can definitely rely on their defense and just say, hey, Arch, just do enough, manage the game. We'll try to run the football and, get out of here. Like I say, just get out of there with a win. Who cares if you win by one? Who cares if you cover the spread? Like the name of the game is just winning the ball game. So, like, I think they're going to come in with a good game plan. Like I say, it's gonna be a challenge, man.
Yeah, I was listening to Sark earlier this week, and he even mentioned it, and I'll play it off of, because something we've discussed all week is Napier and Lagway kind of talking about using the deep ball more. And Sark even brought it up. He goes, look, I expect Florida to try and throw the ball deep. So that's what got me thinking about this question. It's like, hey, does Sark saying, I think Florida may be a little more aggressive this game, make it where, okay, well, how do I play? Their offense hasn't been good.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I agree with you. I think you come in, you play whatever your traditional game style.
Yeah.
But then if it doesn't match up, pivot, and you probably still have a good chance with what this Florida offense has shown so far. So, intriguing matchup, man. It really is. Like I said, almost mirror images of each other, and we'll see where it goes.
It definitely is. Like I said, I just wish we weren't in the spot we're in right now, because this game would have a lot more like riding on it, man. I mean, it's just it's so disappointing, dude. It's just so disappointing.
Suppose let's get into another disappointing angle, but maybe getting better injury front for the Gators. Dallas Wilson may be back on the field this week. So if you're looking for a reason to feel better about this offense, maybe it's with him out there. Of course, he suffered a lower body injury in fall camp, early fall camp. So it certainly looks like from Billy Napier talking about him and some of the practice reports that have come out since last week as well, that Dallas Wilson will be making his debut for the Gators this Saturday versus Texas. Aiden Mizell missed the Miami game with an injury. Napier confirmed is on track to play versus Texas, as well as J. Michael Sturdivant, who was injured versus Miami. So add Dallas Wilson to it, and you look pretty healthy at wide receiver here. So offensive line block, DJ, get out of your funk, and hopefully right here, man, you got some options.
Yeah. What's funny is I was thinking about it the other day. I guess I should have seen a little bit of the writing on the wall when I went down for that scrimmage, like that barbecue scrimmage, like literally the week before fall camp. And I was like kind of not impressed offensively. Now, again, there was no DJ that day. And that was
turns out it may not have mattered, but
exactly. And so, what I can remember is even that day, Trammell didn't get all the reps. I was still kind of split with Warner and Harrison Bailey. So it was kind of like,
I even remember you telling me Trammell there was nothing that jumped off the page. That jumped
nothing
out
from that day.
LIU.
Nothing from that. Right. Yeah. So it was like, what I did recall was I felt like the receivers weren't getting open. I think Sturdivant got banged up like in warm-ups. So he was kind of not going. Obviously, you had no Dallas Wilson, and Mizell didn't make any plays that day. Tight ends, like, again, it was just like, okay, this is definitely going to be early in the season. We're going to be running the football with Ball and Jackson. We'll see what DJ is coming along and all that stuff. And like the writing was on the wall for me there to think back, like, yeah, we're going to have some struggles offensively. It's just, I did not think we'd be struggling to the degree where we are. We thought this offensive line was going to be something that you could lean on. We thought these backs were going to be, not unstoppable, but, forces like they were late in the season. And you thought, okay, yeah, DJ missed time, but he's a superstar. We he's a superstar. He's untouchable. He's Superman. You know, put the cape on and let's go. And it has not been the case at all. So yeah, getting a Dallas Wilson back, that's tremendous help. You know, having Mizell back, because he's been one of the best receivers besides VB3. Like, and he hadn't gotten the reps. You know, he had the big catches against LSU, but he only played a certain amount of snaps. He had, you know, he was making some plays, but he wasn't out there. So we need anything to give us a shot in the arm offensively. And like I said, I guess what's going to be sad is if all of a sudden the offense just starts clicking, you're like, okay, so we just missed Dallas Wilson. He's the key that unlocks the whole thing. You know, I hope and pray maybe that's the case, but you know, again, we're still on the wait and see, and you got to show me all this stuff. You can talk a big game like you're going to throw deep balls and show me DJ throwing a deep ball on the, you know, the Twitter and all that. So, nah, man, you got to come out and you got to show me now, dude.
Yeah, like I hope we're smarter than that to know, it wouldn't be just Dallas, because to me, it would be, all right, well, the conversation we had earlier about, okay, well, training camp's now over for Lagway.
Right.
It's, you know, now the switch flipped during the bye week, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we would know it would be more than just Dallas Wilson, but man, we were excited about this kid anyway. So, you know, I do expect if Lagway, if the switch has flipped somewhat for DJ Lagway, not even all the way, Dallas Wilson being on the field, it will be a difference. Will be an addition. Will be a plus for this Gators offense. So I hope, man. I hope it's anything close to what we saw in the spring game and what we were hearing throughout fall camp.
That's what we're clamoring. That's what we're clamoring for, man.
Hey, on defense, man, what a weird story here. Aaron Gates injured versus Miami. And then during the Monday press conference, sounded like the outlook was his return is good. Napier didn't offer a timeline, but sounded like it could be soon. Only for us to find out on Tuesday, Aaron Gates is going to have shoulder surgery. So no timeline for this, of course, but certainly an odd storyline where it sounded like he might even play this week or very soon, only to now get shoulder surgery.
Yeah, man. Like I say, we are getting a little banged up defensively. Obviously, losing Banks for the year, Dijon for the year. Now you lose Gates, who, you know, was playing really good up until he got hurt last year in the Georgia game. And, you know, you get him back. He rehabs the heck out of that thing, you know, just to now you're 4 weeks into the season. And now, like I say, I don't know how severe shoulder is, but if you got to have surgery, you know, that ain't good. So, yeah, we're getting a little wounded on defense, man.
Yeah, for sure. And up front on defense, Makai Burrow, George Gums Jr., Brendan Bett, all fighting some injuries as well. From what I can tell, have been on the practice field. We'll get the injury report on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday leading up to the game. So we'll see what that comes out as. You know, as we are recording late Wednesday evening, but the availability report, as they want us to call it, hasn't dropped yet as we were recording this, but we'll see. But from what I can gather, pretty close on some of those guys, and the prognosis for all a little bit better than maybe, especially Brendan Beck, because it didn't look good when he went down versus Miami. But apparently, has been on the field, will be available pretty soon here for the Gators. So up front on the defense, where you're going to need it probably more than any place. Outlook, okay.
Yeah, like I say, we got to have that front to at least control their run game, because Sark loves to, like, you know, the misconception is, they've got Arch and they want to throw it. No, he's like these other coaches. They want to implement the run game. They've had success with Wisner on the ground, Jarrett Gibson on the ground. Like I say, they still got CJ Baxter. So they got three capable backs. So you want to try to not let them get comfortable running the football. And then obviously even Arch running, you know, he's been successful. He's got 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. Mm-hmm. He can sneak up out of there because he's deceptively fast. He's a pretty fast guy for, you know, a QB. And so, you know, he's broken a couple runs, you know, in his short little tenure of playing time. So you got to key in all that run stuff. And then you obviously got to be able to pressure him when he's dropping back to throw. You know, you want to be in his face. You want to make it uncomfortable for him. You want to force him into maybe a bad throw. So, yeah, that defensive front, we need all hands on deck. I need Gums back in there rushing the passer. I need Woods getting to the quarterback. I need all those guys, you know, pressuring them and, you know, also doing a good job of what they've been doing, you know, against the ground game so far.
For sure. So, all right, Sponge. I think I'll make my prediction later on. I'll have a Texas guest, Jerry Hamilton, joining me.
So Jerry my boy Jerry Hamilton. Yeah, I forgot he's been with Texas. Yeah, that's my dude. He used to he was my guy for 7-on-7 stuff. He was always getting intel when he was working with the ESPN. He was working with I think he was working with some of the different recruiting sites and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I had him last year and it was really good. So on Texas football. Jerry is doing now. So,
I realized I forgot he was doing a lot of Texas stuff.
So he'll join me there on Thursday. So we'll get that episode out too, and then I'll put my prediction out. But Sponge, what you thinking, man?
Dude, I don't feel confident at all. Again, this offense, I don't care that DJ's got a look in his eye and this, that, and the other. Like I'm tired of all the talking points. Coming out of a bye week.
See to believe.
I don't believe exactly. I don't believe you. You're lying to me. So it's more so of show me that what you're saying is true. Tell me that DJ talking. You got this confidence. You've been talking to the leadership group. Yada 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 yada. Man, that's a bunch of just talk. Like it's time to now. If these things are true, then let your talk back it up with your play on Saturday. But I'm feeling something like 31-10, dude.
Okay, I'm not too far from that, but
I guess I was talking to Faro. We did our podcast today, and I was like, I just don't. What's funny is the over under is at 41, and I was like, I didn't realize that until after. I was like, yeah, well, that's right at the over under, and it'd go under. It's just, I just don't think, and I don't know if Texas can score 31, maybe 28, 27, somewhere in that ball range, but. Yeah, I mean, where are we scoring? They haven't showed me. Go look at what we did against LSU and Miami's defenses, and I feel like we're going to be in that same ballpark. But maybe with Dallas Wilson, maybe we can get 14 on the board. Who knows? Maybe we could score twice. Can we score twice in a game, man? I mean, is that possible? Like
on the Wednesday night presser, Napier on Lagway. Today was probably his best day of practice since he started practicing. Talking about stuff, you're tired of hearing. He's improving each day. That's the emphasis. We've kind of changed the practice format to get him more opportunities.
All right, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. All right, you know what? Gators win 28-27.
Because of the one soundbite right there. Let's go.
28-27, baby. We win by one going away. No, like I say, I hope that the defense keeps us in the ball game. I hope that some switch did flip for DJ. I hope that adding Dallas to the offense, is the key that unlocks maybe some downfield throws, some more explosives. Now people can key on him and maybe can get VB3. In space a little more. Like what's sad is, you have these toys like Eugene Wilson and Vernell, and they just, run more than they do behind the line of scrimmage than they do in gameplay. Like somebody needs to go track that stat. How
many motion yards did you run?
Yeah, how many motion runs have you rushed for this year? We're killing that stat, man. We're killing that stat. But yeah, I just don't I don't have any confidence in this team at all. And they got to show me that something's flipped during this bye week. Until they do that, then I'm not gonna pick them to win any game.
Yep. All right, everybody, we got focus on the Gators with Alex Shepard on the other side of this. Hey, Sponge, man, thanks.
Yeah,
we'll be
we'll do it again next week, and we'll see where we're at, man.
We'll see where we're at. Who knows what the storyline will be?
Yeah, I was about to say, who knows? You could be doing your swamp session, at. Well, it'll be a little earlier since it's 3:30 kick, so you got to be happy about that. You're not going to be getting out of there too late.
Yes,
but you could be up there in the press box, and we could be talking about something else.
Yeah,
but yeah.
All right, there we go.
All right, enjoy it down there, my man. Enjoy it
for sure. We just did a whole lot of talking about the Florida offense, and hopefully the Gators renovated their offense during the bye week. Well, speaking of renovations, my own home transformation began last week. After staring at those hideous popcorn ceilings and living with those, kind of unsightly drywall holes and cracks for far too long, Gator Drywall of Duval is finally rescuing my living space. While our football team desperately just kind of needs to find their offensive rhythm, at least my walls and ceilings will be smooth and modern pretty soon. I'm especially excited because Brandon and his team at Gator Drywall, they bring the family-owned dedication that's been kind of just missing from service industries these days. These guys know exactly what they're doing, patching holes, repairing cracks, and removing dated textures with precision and care. While we may not be able to fix our football woes overnight, at least my home will be getting the championship level upgrade it deserves. And if your home needs the same kind of transformation our Gators offense clearly needs, then call the real professionals at Gator Drywall of Duval. 904-793-2088. That's 904-793-2088. Or visit GatorDrywallofDuval.com. Here we are again with another edition of Focus on the Gators with Alex Shepard. And Alex, jumping in right here on this episode of Gators Breakdown. After the bye week, Alex has been a busy man, traveling the world, traveling America, pointing to the hat. It was not last week, but the week before. We teased it when we were on here together last time, but you and I rocked out to some Sleep Token a couple Wednesdays ago, and man, what a fun time. Good seeing you there, by the way, and hanging out for a little bit beforehand and getting some merch, and then got to enjoy a heck of a show. So hey, that's been the highlight of the fall so far, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, the flamingo shirts, I'd say, were more exciting and more colorful than this offensive playbook. Let me tell you that. But no, great time seeing you there. Great time hanging out. Obviously appreciated the time with you there, and hopefully we can get some excitement like we did there out of this Gators team this weekend.
Build it and they will come.
We'll see.
There we go. But yeah, good time. It was, a little chance. It doesn't happen often where I get away from football during football season. So, and then got to enjoy some really good games this past weekend in college football. And here's the thing about this weekend. People were like, we don't have to watch Florida. I was looking forward to this weekend anyway. But before the season started, I didn't know how good or bad Florida was going to be. But I was like, hey, there's Florida's bye week. And you know what? Georgia, Bama play, Ohio State and Washington play, Oregon and Penn State play, LSU, Ole Miss. And I was like, I'm looking forward to that weekend no matter what Florida does. And it lived up to the hype.
It did. And it's, you never want to get to a weekend where you're looking forward to there not being Florida football, but it was definitely a reprieve that I feel like most of us needed to not have a stressful weekend, to be able to just enjoy football for football, and not be actively rooting against the play calling or the team itself. I'm hoping that maybe there was a slight reset within the fan base. I know everyone's still going to be upset and go into this weekend probably with much lower expectations than what we were thinking we would have coming into the season. However, I'm glad that Gator football's back one way or the other. I'm turning a new leaf, Dave. I don't want to be the negative Nancy I normally am, but because there's no use in that any longer. But I'm going to hope that everyone enjoys their time on Saturday.
Well, there you go. Saturday itself, we'll see what the atmosphere is for the game and all that stuff, but the buildup has certainly taken a hit. This was supposed to be a big spotlight week with, for Florida, with Texas coming into town. It's anything but that right now. I think, like you kind of said, the game itself still unique. You got Texas coming to Gainesville for the first time in our lives. But the buildup to the game is nowhere near what it could have been with Florida starting 1-3. This was supposed to be a marquee game. This was supposed to be Lagway versus Arch, and it's two Heisman contenders and all that. And look, Texas has got their own issues, but their only losses to the number one team in the country right now. And that was a hard-fought game on the road in Columbus. We don't know a whole lot about Texas, but we know a whole lot about Florida at this point. And the reason the build-up's not there is because of a 1-3 Florida team.
Yeah, when you came into this season, I think at worst, any of us were saying, okay, maybe the Gators come in 2-2 at worst.
At worst.
And obviously those two losses being the last two, the two most recent. It'd be hard pressed to find anybody who said, oh, we're going to come into this 1-3. But here we are. And obviously, like you said, the emotions are much further down. There's not a lot of excitement around the team at the moment. A team struggling to find its identity, and the fan base, I'd say, has found more of an identity, which is, obviously to find a new coach one. I'm going to say this now, and I'm going to put this up front. See what you think.
All right.
This game just stinks of a game that Billy Napier is going to find a way to win. I don't know. I'm just telling you, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying that this just has the stench of like a 24-21 swamp win and everyone going, well, where the hell was that these last 2 weeks? So I'm putting it out there that I think, maybe we get surprised. I don't think it'll be a close game. I think it's going to be one way or the other, but I feel that like Billy could squeak one out or something and everyone goes, well, here we go again. So,
okay, we'll just go through Billy Napier's history right quick. His first ever game at home gets a win over Utah. Okay, you look back at that season, probably should have won that game. Then you go to year 2 and you just go on the road to Utah, you stink it up. Your first big home game, Tennessee comes in a couple weeks later, you get that win. Probably shouldn't have had that one. And then last year you get 2 of them, LSU and Ole Miss back to back.
Yep.
You're right. He's got one of those home games a year he's really not supposed to win. And this might be his last chance. If he doesn't win this one, who knows? He might get fired on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. I mean, this could be setting up for just one of those. You probably aren't supposed to win, but you find a way to do it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be one of two. Either he squeaks out the win or we lose badly. I don't know if there's a middle ground there. I mean, our defense has held up. I give our defense so much prop. Like, they have been the backbone of this team.
I haven't went that far into my thought yet, but I think you're right. I think it's a close win or a blowout loss.
Because, our defense has done so much. They have come into every game and held these teams to enough for us to compete. And how long can that realistically continue to last? Not only because like the guys are putting all their effort out there, sure, but there's got to be a point where that breaks. We can't just have a great defense all season and the offense just continues to fall behind. They got to do something or the resolve is going to break these guys. It's too much to be sending them back out there every 4 downs after the offense goes 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out over and over again.
Well, good point. Go back to a year ago. Florida's defense had that, the team had that first bye week, and then they came out, and the defense had looked like they started playing better after that first bye week. Their worst game after that first bye week was against Texas. They go to Texas and just get routed, but they played well versus UCF, played well versus Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, and then a week later you get trounced by Texas and then play good again against LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State, and Tulane to end the season. So, look, this is not the same offense. Quinn Ewers is gone. Arch is in. They've lost, some talent, especially, along the offensive line as well. So it's a new-look Texas offense, but Sark's still on that sideline. So you can best bet, he knows what to call against this Florida defense. So kind of going to your point, it may not even be that they just break. It might just be a bad matchup against an offensive savant there with Steve Sarkisian.
Mm-hmm. And you may already know this, but and obviously we play one of the same opponents during one of our bye weeks every year, but how many times has Billy Napier gotten a win after a bye week in his 4 years?
Was the bye week last year before UCF?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so got that one. And then, of course, it's always before Georgia, so you're not getting
so
that
that's what I'm saying. That doesn't help. And so, but you'd think, these Florida Gators would be able to win against Georgia even when they're good. We shouldn't be expecting that, oh, it's Georgia, we're going to lose. And in our 3 games this year against non-FCS people, we are averaging 11 points a game, Dave. 11. We should be going to these places against LSU, Miami. I don't care. USF, for God's sake. We should be able to put up 20, 30 points at least, but we're averaging 11. And now we're going to be expected to play against Texas, regardless of how the team is playing. They've got some dudes on that team.
And that defense is really good.
That Texas oil money is paying real well. And so we have to make sure that, we don't settle for less. This team should be putting up 25 plus no matter who they're playing. I don't care if it's the best defense in the league. We need to be putting up 25 plus points every week. Not a question. So we'll see what we got in the tank. Like you said, this could be a very telling one in terms of Billy Napier's tenure. But my fingers are crossed for him, Dave. We'll see what happens.
Well, kind of going along that point, maybe you just kind of hit it talking with the offense and stuff, but maybe zoom in a little bit more. What's with this 1-3 start? What's the most disappointing angle for you so far?
I mean, how could it not be DJ Lagway's development? I mean, everyone says it, everyone knows it. We sit here and we see somebody who, granted, he was a true freshman last year. He was a lot more mobile running around and it looked really good. You thought, man, if he just gets some development over the season coming into a sophomore year, you're going to be looking at a guy. Everyone was saying he was a Heisman contender.
Yeah.
He looks worse. Every quarterback I feel like that has touched this offense has gotten worse. We have not seen some huge strides that you would expect, especially from a coach who played quarterback.
Yeah.
Who is supposed to be this guy who can help the quarterbacks learn the game. And I feel like he's helped all these guys become better people. I feel like they're all good in the heart, but they are not showing the progress on the field. The play calling is obviously its own disappointment. I've been very vocal about that. You have guys like LaMichael P. Ryan tweeting, there's no way we're still running this high school offense. And it's clear that, I mean, the players got to feel that. The other teams got to know that. And the fans know it. And I'll tell you what's really bothersome outside of this. You'd think that coaches, when they're going into press conferences and they're hearing from the media members who are echoing sentiment from your fans, when they're asking you, you still calling plays? You still calling plays? You still calling plays every week? He's got to be hearing that from other people too. You'd think that they would make a change. It just reeks of the same thing that Dan Mullen had going on, where people were calling for defensive change and he held on to his guys and held on to his way of doing things because he thought it was right. And look where it got him. So I think you either got to make a change or move on. So DJ's not progressing. The play calling is abysmal. And yeah, it just feels like there's no end in sight in terms of hope, in terms of him changing. So disappointing.
Yeah, and I don't know if you go back to Lagway's press conference too, and him talking about going 11 on 11 for the first time. And look, I don't know if that was the first time for a stretch or if it was the first time ever in a practice setting since he's come back from injury. Either way, you know, that wasn't really too satisfying to hear, knowing what you have to play, knowing you were playing LSU early, knowing you were playing Miami early, and he missed all those reps, and just now getting the 11 on 11 first team in a practice setting. Okay, that's kind of worrisome. Look, I know we missed some time for sure, but if you're talking nothing replaces live bullets, well, the only way he's going to get, or the closest thing he can get to it, is first team versus first team in the practice setting. And like, it's a delicate balance of all the time that he missed that you have to game plan for an opponent at the same time as trying to get him caught up. I know it's a delicate balance, but man, it seems like on the surface, if you take just on face value those comments, that they just really misjudged how to bring him along to get him ready for this brutal start of the season.
Yeah. And, you know, I hear the fans that say, hey, you know what? Let's give Trammell Jones a run. And you know what the thing is? He's young. He's a year younger. If he knows the playbook, maybe run something like, you know, the old Chris Leak, Tim Tebow playbook, where you can, you know, get Jones in there, have him do some quarterback runs, designed runs, because he's a little bit shiftier than Lagway. You know, Lagway seems to be a better, you know, passer overall, but we haven't seen enough of Jones. So, you know, I don't see if Lagway's really struggling, take a little bit of that pressure off his shoulders, let another guy in for a couple plays just to do some QB runs, let him settle in. I'm just tired of seeing these like bubble screens and 3-yard passes, man. Like I genuinely believe this is the best wide receiver core we have had in Billy's 4 years, and we are just wasting them away. I mean,
you've got Dallas Wilson back this week. So
exactly. Are they going to push it down the field? Are we going to see something exciting other than
they say it was a focus during the bye week. So
yeah. A huge focus. Yeah. About discipline. And yeah, it's just, we hear it. It's a lot of talk. I want to see it on the field.
Yeah. It's just, here's, you know, like I'll go back to one of the earlier points of, look, it's weird that this game is not living up to the hype, you know, mainly because of Florida. It can get that way. Like I'm disappointed that Texas fans are coming to Gainesville, because you know this is their first time being able to come. So I think there's going to be a probably big contingent of Texas fans. Mm-hmm. I wanted them to see the Swamp in Gainesville abuzz and at its best. And now the only way you're going to get that is if the team comes out and starts well. Like I don't think it's going to be there pregame so much. I don't think it's going to get there. And I hope Texas fans get to see that, because we know how special it is. Mm-hmm. But because of where the team is at right now, you know, they're not going to get the best of what Gainesville and the Swamp can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and something similar to that was last year with Miami. I had a lot of my cousins come into town for Miami, and granted, that was an early game in the season. I think that was first game, yeah?
Yeah.
And the atmosphere in the Swamp just died so fast, and all my cousins were telling me, man, it really wasn't that loud. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Granted, I think this is a sellout for Texas this week, or I'm assuming it is.
It should be. But I know people are selling tickets. Like,
well, now they're cheap.
Right. They're not going to the game.
Yeah. So
and that's what I mean. People say, oh, you're making too much of it. It's still exciting and all that stuff. Okay, well, tell that to the people selling their tickets right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, the boosters got to be feeling it. The boosters got to be seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm with you because I've been to this stadium for almost 30 years of my life, and I know what it's capable of. I've seen it at its peak. The fact that we still sell out games and still put 85,000 plus in this stadium every week with that product on the field is nuts. So they'll still get a feel for it. But You're right. It's not the same.
Yeah. And the feel they're going to get for it is the team is going to have to play well. The team is going to have to start well and play well to keep the fan base engaged. Because you're right. When that team runs out of the tunnel, the fan base will be ready. In that first quarter, the fan base will be ready. Then it's up to the team and the staff to keep the fan base in it and make it a help. Because look, you just lost to South Florida at home, for God's sakes, the last time we were in the stadium. So, can it be a difference? Yes, we know it can be. But at the same time, it doesn't have to play out that way.
No. And, I sit here and I think back on all these days of like the crowd making the difference, and the blocked field goal, Jarvis Moss, South Carolina, like all these iconic moments. And there's chances that this weekend could be that.
Yeah.
The crowd can make the difference. But I guarantee you, if we go out there, first drive, go 0 for 3, and we punt, you're going to hear the boos so loud that maybe they may be the loudest of the season, because we all see it. We all know we're all complaining about the same stuff.
Yeah.
And if we're out there and we're not able, like you said, to get the people hyped up, get them excited about this team and the offense, you're already lost to them. So Billy Napier needs to open the playbook and just start throwing some exciting plays out there, some deep balls, and show that he's willing to take a gamble for once and stop throwing the ball 2 yards and do 2 other runs up the middle on 3rd and 9 and then punt it away.
Yeah, because I don't think it's going to start that way. I just don't want 3 quarters of toxicity. Because if Texas gets out to a start like they did last year, and it was in Austin, I know it was a whole different scenario, different team. But if just say it plays out that way, it's going to get nasty in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to see that.
No, and I don't either. Nobody should want to see that. There has been at the end of games, there's been a growing number of people that wait for Napier and Strickland to run through the tunnel so that they can boo him. If we have another product like last year's Texas game, the whole stadium might stay.
Right.
Which is kind of like counter, like I get you want them to stay, but like they're not staying for the right reasons. So I don't know, man. I have like my gut is all over the place. I have a feeling, like I said, that this could be one of those sneaky games that Napier finds a way to pull off just because we have elite defense and find a way to get some turnovers and potentially like a little bit of offense to keep us in it. But yeah, if we get the other side of this, it's going to be probably one of the ugliest days in the Swamp the last 4 years. For sure.
All right, Alex, man, thanks for hopping on right here. And like you said, now that went down to Miami, took some photos, showed a little bit of those, and we'll be in the Swamp this week. So everybody in the Jacksonville area, around this area, if you need some beautiful photos taken, Alex can help you out right there. And also, if you're looking to move to the First Coast area, Alex, you can help them out there too, right?
I can. Yes. So a lot of people don't know about me. They see the photos. They see me on Twitter yapping about Gator sports and don't realize that I'm actually a realtor here in Jacksonville full time. Photography is a fun side hobby, but every other hour of the day when I'm not shooting Florida sports, I'm actually selling houses here in Northeast Florida. So anywhere from Yulee to Palm Coast, Jacksonville, West Side, give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you about anything real estate related.
Big area.
A lot of driving, a lot of miles on the car.
For sure. All right, everybody, that right here will do it for another edition of Focus on the Gators with Alex Shepard.